Botulinum toxin, the deadliest toxin made by a microbe. On September 7, 1978, Georgy Markov was waiting for a bus in London when he felt a sharp prick on his leg. He turned around and saw a man picking up an umbrella. He thought nothing of it until later that day when he started feeling unwell. He went to bed, and by the next morning he was running a high fever. At the hospital, doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with him, and he died 4 days later. What happened to Georgy Markov shocked the world because he was a well-known critic of his country's government. He was living in exile in London after refusing to return to Bulgaria, where he could face imprisonment or worse. Soon, British intelligence revealed how his death was no accident. A tiny pellet had been embedded in his leg, and it contained a deadly poison called ricin. Someone had shot it into him with a special gun hidden inside the umbrella. This real-life Cold War assassination story shows just how dangerous our world can be. But believe it or not, there's a compound that's even more deadly than the one used to kill Georgy Markov, and you might find it in your kitchen pantry. It's a common ingredient that we often take for granted, but it's definitely worth taking a second look at. Let's first explore the compound used against Georgy Markov, ricin. To understand how ricin works, let's break down its structure. It looks like your typical protein with a long chain of amino acids folded into a specific shape, but don't be fooled by its appearance. Ricin is one of the most toxic compounds known to man. It comes from the seeds of the castor bean plant, and has been used as a poison for centuries. In ancient Greece, it was reportedly used to coat the tips of arrows. During World War I, it was considered as a potential weapon. These days, it's mainly used for research purposes, but it's also been linked to a few mysterious deaths. Ricin works by getting inside cells and blocking a key process that all cells need to survive. All cells have to make new proteins to function. Proteins are essential for life. They do everything from transporting oxygen throughout the body to fighting off infections. Cells make proteins based on instructions from genes. Those instructions are carried by molecules called messenger RNA or mRNA. The way cells read the instructions on mRNA is pretty amazing. It's actually done by ribosomes, which are made of two parts. These parts come together when they find an mRNA molecule. They then read the instructions and use another molecule called transfer RNA to bring the right amino acids to the growing protein chain. But ricin interferes with this process. It targets the large part of the ribosome and stops it from assembling amino acids. Once ricin shuts down protein production, cells can't carry out their essential functions and die. Even a tiny amount of ricin can be deadly. You only need about 500 micrograms to kill an adult. That's equivalent to less than a grain of wheat. So when Georgy Markov was assassinated, he probably didn't stand a chance. The pellet that hit him released enough ricin to kill him quickly. There is no antidote to ricin poisoning. Doctors tried everything they could to save Georgy Markov, but there was nothing they could do. Ricin shut down his cells, and eventually his whole body shut down, too. But while ricin is incredibly deadly, there's another compound out there that's even more dangerous. It comes from a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum, and it's one of the most poisonous natural substances on the planet. Botulinum grows in places without much oxygen, like underwater or deep in the soil. That's why it often shows up in improperly sealed or stored foods. When botulinum grows and reproduces, it releases a toxin that can cause serious illness. People get sick by eating food contaminated with the toxin. It usually happens when people eat home canned foods that aren't processed correctly. If the cans are damaged or the food isn't heated enough, botulinum can survive and grow inside. Then when people eat the food, they swallow the toxin. Once the toxin enters the body, it starts to wreak havoc. It makes its way to the nerves and blocks an important signal. Usually nerves send messages to muscles telling them what to do, like when to flex or relax. But when the toxin interferes, muscles can't get the message. This can lead to paralysis, and in the worst cases, it can make it hard to breathe, which can be fatal. Babies are especially vulnerable to the effects of botulinum toxin. Sometimes they eat honey that contains spores of the bacteria. Infant botulism can be dangerous. It can cause constipation and breathing problems. In some cases, it can be deadly. That's why it's important to keep honey away from babies under 1 year old. Fortunately, there are ways to destroy the bacteria and prevent illness. Heating food to 85 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes will kill any botulinum spores. That's why it's important to heat canned foods before eating them. Also, don't eat food from damaged cans. If the seal is broken or the can is bulging, throw it out. These simple steps can help keep you and your family safe. So now let's focus on the part of the toxin that causes all this trouble, the neurotoxin made by Clostridium botulinum. Just like ricin, it's a protein. It has a complex structure with several parts. Understanding this structure helps scientists develop treatments and vaccines. So here's a breakdown of the main parts. First, there's the heavy chain. It helps the toxin get into nerve cells. Next, there's the light chain. This part is responsible for blocking the release of a chemical called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is important for muscle movement. It sends signals from nerves to muscles, telling them what to do. For example, when you decide to move your arm, a motor neuron sends a message to your arm muscles to contract. That message is carried by acetylcholine, but the botulinum toxin blocks the release of acetylcholine. Without this important chemical, muscles can't get the message to move. This is what causes paralysis. So the botulinum toxin essentially paralyzes muscles by blocking a key signal. This can lead to breathing problems and other serious health issues. Now let's look at the structure of the toxin in more detail. The heavy and light chains are connected by a single bond. Scientists figured out the structure of this part of the toxin using techniques like X-ray crystallography and nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. They also discovered a zinc atom that helps hold the structure together. The toxin has a pentameric structure, meaning 5 parts come together to form a complete molecule. Each part has a heavy and light chain. The molecular weight of the toxin is around 149 kilodaltons. Despite its large size, the toxin is amazingly precise. It targets a specific part of nerve cells called the neuromuscular junction. This is where nerves connect to muscles. The toxin blocks acetylcholine from being released at the neuromuscular junction. This prevents muscles from getting the message to move. Overall, the botulinum toxin is a remarkable molecule. Its unique structure allows it to do things no other toxin can do. By studying this molecule, scientists hope to develop new treatments for diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. To sum up, we've covered a lot of ground in this video. We looked at the assassination of Georgy Markov and how he was killed with Sen. We also explored the botulinum toxin, one of the most poisonous substances on Earth. And we broke down the structure of the botulinum toxin so you can see how it works. These toxins are dangerous, but they're also fascinating. By learning about them, we can better protect ourselves from harm. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the world of toxins. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding the world around us is the first step to staying safe. Stay curious and keep asking questions. Who knows what amazing discoveries you might make? Before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated on all our latest content. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching.